Hello again, it's Lock Noob, and in front of us is a PacLock padlock, and it's the first PacLock I've ever had a chance to pick. Actually, they're just rare this side of the pond. You don't find PacLock in Europe, although you can order them. You have to pay for shipping, and that could be quite expensive. It reminds me of the American Lock 20, and also a cross between that and a Federal Lock. If you look at the key, it's very, very distinctive and reminds me a lot of the sort of Federal Draper Stanley keys out there. I'm not sure if this is made by Federal. It wouldn't surprise me if it is, but I believe that PacLock actually make their own locks. So, yeah, I don't think it is. The other thing is, in American locks, I can get a 1.2mm pry bar in. With this lock, 1mm fits nice and tight. Also, keyways are a little bit more paracentric. Normally with an 18,000th gem I can go from the bottom of the keyway, but I can't. I have to pick off this little warding ledge here. That's not a big deal. Okay, so just have a look at the key. Like I said, works sort of fine. The bitting on the key isn't spectacular. It has some highs at the front, which is always nice, but it's just got a gentle increase towards the back in terms of its pinning. Yeah, let's have a go. Here we go. So, start at the back. 6 feels heavily. It feels set. 5 feels set. 4 feels set. 3 feels set. 2 and 1. 1. Let's try that again. Nothing's really binding. Let's try that one more time. Yeah, so it's 2. It's binding. And 1 is binding, and oh, and that's it. That can't be it, can it? Let's try that again. Let's put that key in, give it a little wriggle back and forth, make sure all those pins are completely set. Even though the bitting is poor, I still expect more than 2 pins to sort of hold the mechanism back. That's a pin 2 just set. Trying to get on pin 1 and 1. Oh. No, that's it. Right. Let's get into this and let's see what's going on the inside. Why is it picking so quickly? How strange. So, yeah, probably getting the wrong size hex key there. All standards, all of these driver pins and bottom pins, all standards, no serrations, no spooling, nothing. In fact, you can see wear on the first 2 pins a bit more than all the rest, which is very strange. Right, I'm going to put the pins into the core or plug, and we're going to have a look and just see why only 2 pins actually seem to have any play in this lock. Okay, back in a sec. So here are all the pins in the lock. Now, if I was to put in the first 2 drivers, you'll see that they definitely would be trapped at the shear line when you turn the core or plug without the key in. So there we go. Pretend this holder here is the body, and you'll see they'll trap for certain. Now what's really odd is I didn't feel any binding of the pins at the back at all. I didn't feel them set. They seemed completely set at, when I was trying to pick it at the time. Nothing moved. And I'm actually looking as to why. And can you see that they've chamfered the edges of the holes in the plug for the pins? They've actually chamfered the edges, which gives them a very slight slope. You'll see that because if you look around pins 3 and 4, which are already at shear, which means that the lowest cut on the key, sadly, aligns with pins that just don't need to be picked at all. I really don't like that when the key pins are such that on the lowest bitting they're zero lift. I think it's okay for a little bit in padlocks, but for the most part, any more than one zero lift pin just doesn't make sense. But that's my take on it anyway. And you can see that the pins themselves are slightly rounded. These driver pins, they're not particularly sharp in terms of their profile, which means that they work smoother in the lock, but it also means that combined with this chamfered edge, they will just slide up and down here and essentially self-pick as long as they aren't too deep. And you can see that they're not too deep at all there. That curve on the bottom of the driver pin lines up very nicely with that chamfered edge, and just by turning the plug or core in the lock, it will automatically lift these pins up to shear. Yeah, that's not a great design. So just in summary, we have two zero lift pins, which can make sense sometimes in a lock as long as there are some, very sort of high cuts behind it, so that you have to really lift these back pins high. The zero lifts can protect it by oversetting, but in this case you just didn't need to pick those back pins at all because of the chamfering on the holes and the rounded edges of the driver pins. The only pins which need to be picked are pins 1 and 2 because they're just deep enough to allow the driver pins to bind the core in the lock, and they have to be lifted to the shear line. So there you go. That was the first PacLock I've ever picked, and sadly, despite having lots of different cuts on the key, barely any of them made any difference at all. Oh well. Hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you all next time.